Good morning, friends. I am Laura Gabbard, and I want to welcome you all to Fairfield Friends meeting, whether you're here in the meeting house or joining us on Zoom. And I also want to remind you, if you're in the meeting house, if your phone is on and not on airplane mode, it can interfere with the connection between the meeting house and Zoom. So please either turn it off or put it in airplane mode. We're going to start this morning with our first hymn, worship and song number 154, Be Thou Our Vision. Do we have a children's message this morning? I don't know that we do. If not, let's move on to our community sharing. Oh, okay. DEI minute.
Good morning, friends. It's lovely to see you all. All week long, we all listen to the news or read the news and get upset. At least I do. For our DEI minute, and that's diversity, equity, and inclusion, what used to be throughout our businesses, our colleges, our schools, we asked to have a DEI minute to emphasize the fact that we can't forget what DEI means and that we need it. So I'm talking about homelessness today. Homelessness in Indiana, as is true for most of the rest of the country, is increasing. In Indianapolis, there were 1,815 people counted as being homeless on January 30th, the coldest time of the year, we don't know how many others we couldn't find. I once sent out some students to go with the police to help do the count, and it was amazing the stories they brought back. But it's increased third year in a row. And our state legislature, in their, I can't even explain how I feel about this, Senate Act 285 that was just passed has outlawed sleeping, camping, or maintaining long-term shelter on state and local public property. It's now illegal, and people can be charged with a Class C misdemeanor and 60 days in jail and a $500 fine. Now, I can't understand, can you, how that's going to take care of the homeless problem in our nation, or in our state? Residents leave their homes due to domestic violence. We have shelters, but the federal money to support those shelters has been cut back and almost non-existent now. So more and more women and some men who are leaving due to domestic violence are struggling with low income and many children to survive. Residents leave due to being evicted, aging out of foster care, family intolerance, and unemployment, underemployment, deaths in the family. If you have a young mom and her grandmother dies, so does the Social Security check that's paying for the rent, or paying most of it. Gentrification, where landlords find that they can kick out the people who were paying $600 of rent and do a little improvement and charge twice that or more. Our median monthly housing costs rose 52% from 2015 to 2024. 1 in 3 Indiana households had housing costs that were burdened. That is, they were paying more than a third, 30% for their housing cost. Complications of the homelessness issue is lack of affordable housing, poverty and low wages, unemployment or job loss, mental health challenges, and substance use disorders. This is impacted by the issue of diversity, equity, and inclusion because they're now taking the lid off of what had been protections for people of color in our communities. I found a song, and I'm not going to play it, but I'll see if Jeff and Laura can send it out to you. But they found a story, or a song rather, that was written by Woody Guthrie, who talks about no old man Trump, and this is Fred Trump they're talking about. Old man Trump knew just how much racial hate he stirred up in that blood pot of human hearts when he drawed that color line here at his Beach Haven family project. Beach Haven is Trump's Tower. This was written 30 years before Trump Tower was ever built. So what I'm trying to communicate here very insufficiently is that what they were doing before in the 70s and 80s and way before that, but in the 70s and 80s they were trying to go after the people who were saying this building is for whites and it's much nicer and this building is for blacks or Spanish-speaking people. Right now, we have out-of-state investors that target 1 in 4 single-family rental homes in central Indiana, and mega investors that are companies that own at least 1,000 rental homes. Do they care? Yesterday, it rained, and it rained, and it rained, and I kept on thinking, I am just really glad that Hugh and I put a new roof on our house a couple years ago. We don't have to worry about the rain coming in. But inevitably, the rain came in many homes and apartments yesterday, and those out-of-state investors don't really care about who has rain in their bed and over their children's toys, and they're not going to get it fixed. So I hope that we can think about this issue of homelessness as one that pervades our society, but now it's okay because they're not enforcing the laws against discrimination unless it's a white person who's saying that they're being discriminated against. This is going to compound the agony of what's happening in our communities. And that's why I'm going back to work. I'm going to work in a homeless project because I can't stay still and let this happen. And I hope that you will think about this issue. And if you want, I can bring in more information as I work on the project with the Greater Indianapolis Multi-Faith Alliance that recruits volunteers to work in the eviction courts, just listening to what's happening and asking questions. And their presence can make a difference. So if you want, I can bring you more information on that in the future. Thank you.
Thank you, Ron.
All right, now we can move on to community sharing. We'll start with announcements, and let's begin with our friends on Zoom. Are there any announcements on Zoom? Be sure to unmute yourself. I don't see any on Zoom. Are there any in the meeting room? Any announcements?
Hello, this is Amanda, and just a quick reminder for anyone who's been coming to choir or if you were considering it, this week only, we will not be meeting on Wednesday at 7. No choir this week. All the other Wednesdays leading to the bicentennial, we will be here. Hi, Evan.
Hi, this is Sue Walton, and I have two announcements. Bicentennial meets on Tuesday at 7. So if you're interested in hearing what we've got planned, we're going to go through our final go-through effectively. Need the Zoom, just see me afterwards. And then I'd like to introduce our guest. Scott and I and Josiah are part of a concept called Quaker Connect, and we have what is called our companion. But I think of Evelyn as our mentor. This is Evelyn Jandon of North Carolina, and she has been here with us since Friday, and we've taken her around. We've shown her our neighborhood and more, and we worked with her yesterday with one event, and now we had something this morning, so we really appreciate you. Evelyn, can you stand up so people can say hello? We're really glad you're here. Thank you.
I wanted to save you some steps. This is Linda Rocher on behalf of USFW. An email went out this week explaining that we are doing our annual support for Patricksburg Elementary School in Owen County. School is starting this week, and we support the teachers and staff by stocking their break room with soda, snacks, and little goodies so that they can enjoy their brief breaks. And to encourage them, we are asking that if you would please take a minute and write a short note of encouragement to teachers and staff of the school. We have blank note cards in a basket out on the table. There are pens there. When your note is completed, go ahead and put it in the other basket. And we ask that if you could please do that today. If you could take 5 minutes minutes after meeting for worship and do that, because we need to get those note cards along with the snacks down to school. Like I said, school's starting this week, so we would appreciate that, and I know the teachers and staff would appreciate that. As a former vice principal secretary in a large urban high school, I was totally unprepared for how hectic it is those first few days, and especially in an elementary school where the students are younger. So thank you for your support.
Hi, this is Josiah Hostetler. I have a couple of announcements. One, there is a learning event for religions of Dharmic faiths that will be on this coming Saturday afternoon. And that announcement will go out in email this week, but it's also in our newsletter. And that's at the Hindu Temple of Central Indiana. Second announcement is from Peace and Social Justice. Several of us are working with different faith communities in Plainfield to have an event to counter and hopefully at some point close the ICE detention centers, especially the one that has been existing up at Miami Correctional. And that will be on Saturday, August 29th from 10 to noon. So please mark that on your calendars. It will be in front of the Plainfield Meeting House there on the main drive.
Sandra Hayes Hartman. Hi. How many have not been on jury duty? I know how to not be on there. Just say they're guilty. This week, 3 bears came to my house, and they asked me to find some people like them, or creatures like them, to serve on jury duty on their behalf, because they're suing this little girl named Goldilocks for breaking into their homes, breaking their valuable furniture, and tearing the place up. And they would like for you to come and be on that jury and sit in the audience on August 14th, 15th, or 16th, or 21st, 22nd, and 23rd to determine, and it will be up to you, whatever happened to Goldilocks. And it is at the Athenaeum in the Bastille Theater, different times, but there are these posters, or these postcards out on the table, and if you look on this, scan this, on the back, you'll find out when those performances are. But the Bears were insistent, and they asked for me to please mention you to come and serve on the jury. Thank you.
Hello, Jason Griffith here. Just a reminder that we have a week and a half. August 12th, the memory book submissions are due, so if you have memories, you feel like you want to share something, I encourage you to do that. Thank you.
This is Rita Goss. I just wanted to tell you that not this coming week, but the following week, which will be August 10th through the 14th, they're going to be putting a new roof on our building here. I just hope that some of you will come by and meet the people who are putting it on, because you will really like them. So I'm looking forward to seeing it, and I know a lot of you are too. Thank you.
Thank you. Anita Kamick. So there's been a lot of mention about the bicentennial coming up in September, that eventful weekend. And so what we'd like to do is get a crew together before that time to do a little bit of sprucing up around here at the meeting house. And maybe if we have the roofing done, maybe one of the things we'd like to do is just some basic cleaning of windows to make everything look sparkly. But there's a little bit of a laundry list to get done, so more hands will make it go quicker. I'm looking at August 22nd, that's a Saturday, starting at 8:30 to hopefully avoid any sort of heat, if we have heat done, with August 29th as a backup date. So if you can come out, please do, and there's just lots of little chores that need to be done. This time I think we're not going to be doing the big hateful bushes back here. We're going to wait on that maybe, so for various reasons, but there are plenty of things that we need to just spruce up, so please come out if you can. Again, that's August 22nd with a backup date of August 29th. And I'll have some emails sent out as reminders as well. Thank you.
Good morning, friends. Well, Joanne sends her regard. We went down to the farm last Monday morning, and when we arrived, she began coughing, and we thought it were just allergies, but it turned out she had a really bad cold all week, and it's still going on. And so I stayed away from her the entire week. And I'm fine and glad to be here. But when I left the house this morning, she said, "Tell everybody I said hi." She woke up this morning, she said, "I can't wait to see my friends." I said, "So you can give them your cold?" She said, "Maybe not." And so, but she is thinking of you. Well, it's going to be a busy week for us. I have a wedding this Saturday. When we moved into our house 28 years ago, our neighbor gave birth to a little baby boy that same week and walked him over to our house to introduce herself and to introduce her little son to us, Nicholas. And he's getting married this Saturday, and I'm officiating. They are Macedonian Orthodox. And I said, "Why aren't you getting married by the priest?" And he said, "Because we don't want to attend 12 classes in how to be married." I said, "Oh, I get that. I wouldn't want to either." So I'm doing it this Saturday, and I've been meeting with them, not 12 times, but just meeting to talk with them. And we were together last week, and I asked them what they were doing on their honeymoon, where they were going, and they said the beach. And then they asked, "Where did you go on your honeymoon?" And we said, we drove to Colorado in a Honda Civic without air conditioning, 2,000 miles round trip in record heat. The car was brand new, but we couldn't afford air conditioning, which cost an extra $800, so we went without. Let me just tell you that if you ever decide to save money by not putting air conditioning in a car, don't. We were saved by Harry Truman, or more accurately, the air conditioning in the Harry Truman Presidential Library in Independence, Missouri. The hottest day of all, and we were driving down I-70 and we saw a sign for the Harry Truman Presidential Library, and I suddenly developed a passion for presidential libraries. And so we took that exit and went. But it was a nice honeymoon, It not only began my love affair with Joanne, it began my affection for Harry Truman. I knew nothing about him at the age of 23, but visiting his library sparked my interest, and I began reading about him. His mother-in-law didn't like him. She warned her daughter Bess not to marry him, that he would never amount to anything, which coincidentally was what Joanne's mother said about me. So Harry and I have that in common, disappointed mother-in-laws, except that Joanne's mother and I grew very close before she died. I was thinking of her a lot at the farm this week, since it's the farm where she lived and raised her family. I wish she were still alive. Joanne said, if you could have anything, what would you have? I said, I'd love to see your mother again and just have her in this house with us for an hour so I could ask her questions about what it was like when she moved here in 1939. I would love that. I wish she were still alive. For that matter, I wish Harry Truman were still alive. Still in the Senate, doing what he did during World War II, which was investigating and prosecuting war profiteers. This is how Harry Truman became nationally known. Before that, he was just kind of a little-known senator from Missouri, and he headed up the Truman Commission. He was given $15,000 to root out fraud from defense contractors during World War II, and he recovered $15 billion while saving the lives of thousands of American soldiers from the consequences of shoddy equipment. Harry Truman understood what too many American leaders today refuse to admit, that war too often enriches the wealthy and unscrupulous at the expense of ordinary people. Over the past several months, we have been talking about and considering our nation's appetite for war and our Quaker resistance to it. We began by naming war as America's drug of choice, an addiction we seem unable and unwilling to break. Its casualties include not only those on the battlefield, but those who know and love them. We have said that war is why we cannot have nice things: universal health care, education, child care remain out of reach as our infrastructure crumbles. Rhonda reminded us this morning of another victim of war, which is affordable housing. War is the organized abuse of children. If an individual did to children what war did, that person would go to jail. War also destroys young people's dreams. Just as they began moving toward the lives they have imagined, war says, no, you may not. You must go kill other people. Instead of allowing them to pursue their passions, we bind them to our worst impulses and force them to do the work that we, their elders, refuse to do, which is the hard work of peace, reconciliation, and justice. In this final message, I want to say that war transfers our nation's wealth from the middle and lower classes into the hands of the wealthy. More than almost anything else, war plunders our national resources and robs us of economic equity. It is Robin Hood in reverse, taking from the have-nots to give to the haves. War gives birth to poverty. It kills economic opportunity by pilfering our nation's coffers, filling the pockets of the prosperous. This is the most insidious aspect of war, that those who benefit economically from war are the same people who have placed in power the same leaders who take us to war, thereby ensuring their ongoing wealth and our ongoing poverty, their luxury, our ruination. Think of the moral indifference one must possess to acquire wealth at the cost of human life. Think about that. For those who profit from war, peace is not a blessing to be pursued, but an economic condition to be avoided, a threat to their financial well-being. Were war not profitable, it would disappear. If war harmed the wealthy to the same extent it did the poor and middle class, there would be an outbreak of peace, an epidemic of goodwill. If the implements of war could never be sold for a profit, if military industry stocks plummeted at the first whisper of war, if war led to economic ruination for all and not just some, we would find a way to live in peace. What the Apostle Paul said to Timothy is doubly true today, that the love of money is the root of all evil. Our passion and love for money causes us to do things we would never do otherwise. And I see this not only in our nation, I see it in myself. I purchased a car last month from a family member. When he signed over the title to me, I pointed out that if he wrote the word gift in the price box, I wouldn't have to pay $1,250 in state sales tax. He said, I won't do it. That would be dishonest. My first thought was, for crying out loud, you voted for Donald Trump and now you have a conscience? But he was right. He was right. Not the voting for Donald Trump part, but falsifying the amount. He was right. And I was embarrassed. It would be dishonest. The plus side is, if anybody ever asks me what my integrity is worth, I know now that it's worth $1,250. The love of money is the root of all evil because of its power to make us jettison every value and virtue we possess if we're not careful, if we're not mindful. The love of money causes some of us to lie. It causes others to cheat and steal. It even causes some people to maim and kill and destroy. Just as the love of money causes some people to forget their humanity, it causes churches to forsake their calling and entire nations to abandon their founding principles. So we stopped at the Harry Truman Presidential Library. And I always love presidential libraries because I like the mock-up of the Oval Office that they do in all of them, what the Oval Office was like when that president was in office. And so there it is, the Oval Office. And I went in there to look, and it had the authentic furniture, a replica of the desk, and the original sign that Harry Truman displayed on his desk while president, given to him by a man named Fred Canfield, who was the United States Marshal for the Western District of Missouri. And you know what the sign said? Harry Truman was famous for it. The buck stops here. The buck stops here. It was Truman's reminder to himself and others that his ultimate responsibility was not to his own well-being and enrichment, but to the well-being of our nation, our Constitution. A month after he left the presidency, he was asked by a corporation to serve on its board. The presidential pension was not in place yet, and the only money he had was a pension from his service in World War I. He desperately needed money. And he said to that corporation, "You do not want Harry Truman. You want the president, and the presidency is not for sale." Living as we are in these topsy-turvy times, it is good always to remember that our first commitment above all is our duty to decency. Our duty to decency, our obligation to others and not ourselves.
This is Stan Jones. I just have something to say in regards to this. Friday night, I had the pleasure of being part of the Quaker Connect meeting that we had. Josiah had asked me if I wanted to help on that. And I think one of the things, when I look back on my tradition with the old liturgical Lutheran church and all of that sort of thing, whenever they would have collections or anything like that, it was always because they needed to fix the organ or they needed to do something with the building, or it was always very self-serving. And it's such a joy. And I was thinking Friday night when we were talking about some of these things too, and we talk about what is great about our meeting or what do we want to share with the community about our meeting. And that's, we're not concerned about what's going to happen on Judgment Day. We're not concerned about all of those things, whether we're believing all the right things. We're concerned about how we can love and help one another, and not only within our congregation, but definitely outside the congregation. And I just think it's a great joy. It's something that I've just really appreciated in the years that I've been attending here.
So I guess I can assume we won't be taking an offering for a new motorcycle for me?
We'll get ready for our final hymn. If we can have some volunteers to help carry the food baskets around. Final hymn is in Worship and Song number 172, Nearer My God to Thee.
sometimes when we sing these old hymns, I think maybe we need to sing new hymns. And then other times I see a line that just strikes me deeply. Then let my way appear steps unto heaven, all that thou sendest me in mercy given. Angels to beckon me, near my God to thee. Now that assumes a literal belief in heaven, which I'm not sure about anymore. But I know this because I've met them and you have too, that there are some people in this world whose life has been so hard and difficult and troubled, who have been the recipient of so much hate and fear, that the idea of a heaven is to them a great balm. And I would not take that from them for anything. That there are people in this world who have never had an angel in their lives, a person of kindness, of thoughtfulness, of peace and integrity. And I would wish that for them always. So this week, friends, let us endeavor to make this place, this earth, a heaven, and let us be its angels. Turn and greet friends.